All right, addiction is a disease. That is not actually reflective of what we think. It is a political statement or a public relations statement, or it just makes people feel good. But there's nothing about the way we handle it that makes me think that we actually think it's a disease. For example, we lock people up for non-violent crimes related to substance use. Not a disease. Not a disease. We wait until the condition gets worse before we do anything. We literally have a fundamental philosophy that goes like this. When you hit bottom and you're willing to do as you're told to do, then you'll get better. To me, that reflects that we really don't think this is a disease. But here is an even more interesting fact. We stop doing prevention when you graduate from high school. We do prevention programs up through high school, but then when you turn 18, it's as if our opportunity to prevent the disease is done. Think about that for a minute. Every other condition, even COVID-19, for example, what do we hear about? Let's prevent the disease. Heart disease, let's prevent the disease. Diabetes, prevent it. Addiction, when you turn 18, your opportunity to prevent it is gone. Let's not even talk about it then until you hit bottom. And then you can come and you can get treatment and you can get recovery, but you're certainly not going to get prevention services. There is no such thing in terms of common practice. There's no such thing as adult prevention services. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Hypocritical for us to call this a disease and then stop trying to prevent the disease when people turn 18. So I wasn't addicted when I was 18. I wasn't addicted. I didn't flip the script until, I don't know, mid-20s. Why wasn't anyone trying to prevent it? Why was there no services, no public services announcements that were talking about, hey, if you continue to do this, you could develop addiction? Of course, there are isolated pockets that do that, but it's not common practice. And if you know anything about the funding stream and you know how this stuff is paid for, it stops at high school. So when we look at the problem and we see, how do we solve this and how do we help? Do we build more recovery centers? Do we build more recovery houses? Do we build more treatment centers? Certainly we need to do that stuff because we're so far behind in terms of how we handle this. We got to throw some Band-Aids on this situation. But I'm going to tell you right now, until we wrap our mind around the situation that we have been hypocritical as a society, this is not treated as a disease at all. It is treated as a moral failing, and there is an industry that has been built up around it that kind of taps into that moral failing. A criminal justice industry, a private rehab industry, a public rehab industry, so on and so forth. It's not handled as a disease that's consistent in any manner with any other chronic condition out there. And this has nothing to do with anybody working in any program or working in any facility. I think this is so obvious. The problem that we have is if we cannot erase that paradigm and replace it with something better, we are screwed. If addiction is a disease, then let's treat it as a disease. If you think addiction is a moral failure, then you should say addiction is a moral failure. And we will only help the people who want redemption. We will only help the people who raise their hand and say, oh, please help me. And then we will also help the innocent school children not progress to using. But otherwise, we don't really want anything to do with you. That is actually more reflective of the American attitude than any of this BS, smoke and mirrors disease talk. Let's have some real conversations. At the very least, let's have some vigorous debate. The society deserves an honest debate around this issue. Peace. See you later.